gets guitars.
Hey, if you can look way in the back there. I just realized what's hanging in the entry to my office here are two posters. One of them is
The duel.
Oh, yeah.
Duel, and the other one is the time machine.
Right back.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Wow.
Oh, I guess we're live.
Oh,
Jay Sears
hey.
and Andy Schwartz.
Oh,
Wow.
Hello. Andy Schwartz. Oh my God.
Hey, fantastic.
I got to put it on gallery view.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's everybody.
Oh, Stephen, I like your backdrop there.
Yeah.
Yeah, how'd you get that?
Hey, I spent a lot of money on that.
Good.
And I see Elaine, well, we see your name, Elaine, but we can't see you. Oh no, not that.
Oh.
Stephen.
All right, I'll stop. I'm sorry.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
Hey.
Hey, Elaine.
Well, no, if you have photos to share, we'll do that.
Oh, man.
Let's see. I'm trying to see who else we might be waiting for, and we can officially get started. Oh, Janice, there you are. Hello.
Mhm.
Hi, Elaine. Haven't seen you in a dog's age. How are you?
Frozen.
Yeah.
Frozen. Oh yeah, frozen it is.
She doesn't look cold.
Here we are. Okay, good.
Oh, okay, and
He's
here's
showing
the
us
real
their makeup.
blast from
Hi,
the
Elaine.
blast. Mr. Mark Neiser.
Wow.
What's that?
Is that Tamara's booze shelf?
Yes, it is.
That's
Oh, we're
awesome.
supposed to wait to toast or something?
Yeah, that's all right. Tara, we're admiring your booth shelf.
That's because I can't kneel down to get into the liquor cabinet anymore.
Hey, it's Ronald. All the way from Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Harry, you're
Ronald
here.
Gilman.
And Bruce.
Who everybody is.
Wow.
Wow.
Who's got the teddy bear?
So exciting.
Oh.
Andrew Schwartz. Andrew
Wow.
Schwartz.
Unbelievable.
In the house.
There's Mark. Hey, Mark.
Counteract with puppets.
There it goes.
Hey, Pat.
Hey, Carrie. How's it going?
Hey.
Carrie.
Who's that?
Randy.
Oh, Carrie.
Harry Wendell. Hey.
Oh.
Carrie.
Hey. Is my volume on?
Yes,
Yes.
you are.
Yes.
I'm not muted.
Okay, I guess it's okay to drink. Somebody else is drinking.
All right. Well, let's start with
It's always
Pat.
good.
Here's to, if we start with Kitchensink Mime Theater, here's to over 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're all here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone. For those of you who came on a little late, we are being live streamed to a YouTube channel. Hi, Peggy. We've got Peggy, I see.
Hey, Peggy.
So as we're reminiscing, you know, we might want to save a few of the stories for later, but there's a few people that were scheduled to come on. Peter Motson at the last minute had to cancel, but he said to tell everyone what he loved best about New Hampshire Theatre Project is that it constantly pushed him out of his comfort zone. And Colin,
Is that why he's not here? Yeah.
Pardon?
I said, is that why he's not here?
Colleen Linehan has moved back to New Hampshire, and she was going to join us, but she's not feeling well tonight. And Dennis McLaughlin is supposed to be coming, but he said he would be late. And
Oh my
that's
God.
No.
No,
Believe that.
Believe
I
it.
can't imagine that.
First,
So I thought what we do tonight, you know, Zoom, if we all talk at once, as you know, it's crazy. But I want to keep this open and fun and, you know, keep on drinking. So I thought maybe we'd start with some quick introductions because although I know everyone, you might not all know each other because we basically went back from the people involved as artists and as board members in the 80s and the 90s. And so I thought maybe if you want to do a quick intro and I also wanted to introduce you to Katharine Stewart, who is our new artistic director at New Hampshire Theatre Project. And the real reason why we can do all this highfalutin technical stuff. But she's amazing, and she's going to be on as you know, to kind of manage chat, help out with technical things. And are you looking at the chat on the YouTube as well, Katharine? So if someone has a question or comment.
Yeah, if someone joins in from the interwebs, I will send you their comment your way as well. But we are live and streaming out to the world. But yeah, lovely to see the faces I know. There's in fact one person in this group who is in the same building as me, because Jimmy and I live in the same building. And to the neighbor, and hello to all the people that I haven't met yet, but I'm very much looking forward to listening to your stories. If you need any technical help, you can message me in the chat. But really, I'm just a fly on the wall for this conversation.
Ah, and here's BJ. Welcome. Welcome. And I also wanted to introduce Tamara Steinhauer, TD Steinhauer, with the booze shelf behind her. Tamara's our administrative assistant and handles all things in the office. And you've been with us how long, Tamara?
13-ish. I think shortly after you moved to the West End.
Right. So just so you were kind of at the very beginning where we're all ending.
Yeah.
Janice, I'll let you introduce yourself because you wear several hats. So I want to introduce Tamara Steinhauer, TD Steinhauer, with the booze shelf behind her. Tamara's our administrative.
What's that?
We're kind of recording ourselves here. All things.
Time machine.
How long, Tamara?
Posted out.
Must be the YouTube
weird.
time delay.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Right. So just so you were at the very beginning.
Oh, that's so
Mute
weird.
the YouTube somewhere.
So how are we going to handle that, Katharine?
That will be only if someone is playing it on their computer at the same time. They've just opened it up. And if they are, they can hit mute.
Someone got that on, or should we mute?
Who's doing what?
Posted out.
Must be the YouTube time delay.
No.
Echo.
Is there somebody who's playing it in a link?
So how are we going to handle that?
Could be alien.
That will be only if someone is playing it on their computer at the same time. They've
gosh.
just opened it up.
Oh, it's probably me.
If they are, they can hit mute.
What am I supposed to do?
Mark, if you close that tab, then we're good. Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay.
Please,
Okay.
everybody. I get like
Mystery solved.
3 streets full of people.
Okay.
All right. So what I'd love to do is we'll just go around and have people introduce themselves and just say where you are, because some of you we've got people from all over the country, I think, calling in, and a sentence or two about what you did with New Hampshire Theatre Project. And then I have a little slideshow I was going to share, and then I hope we can get to some juicy stories. So Andrew, I'm going to start off with you because
I'm drinking.
you are drinking, yes, and you are one of the co-founders, one of the original 5.
So yeah, I would be one of the original 5. I see Kate there, and I remember Kitchensink Productions is we really started, and that was Dennis and Jen and I, and we started representing Pat and BJ, and I think if I remember my story correctly, Mark Neiser played a little bit of a role of my connection with Dennis and Jen, because he was teaching juggling for them, and and I think you went to San Diego, and I stepped in and took over his class, and that became our friendship, and the rest is kind of history. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, you stole my job.
And Andrew, you came back, and when you moved back to New Hampshire, though, you were on the board recently.
Yeah, and I'm out, actually, everybody. I'm an hour and a half from Seattle as a crow flies, as we say. I'm on the Olympic Peninsula, a little tiny town, 900 people and 90 elk.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Nice.
Andrew, I'm going to let you pass it on to the next person.
All right, well, why don't I pass it on? We'll go to the early people. So I'll throw it to Mark, just because he was one of the early people.
I'm considered early. That is so special. Thank you. Well, I'm old now, but I was early back then. I was just telling my daughter who's a ballerina in New York City, that I came and took mime class. I was desperate for anything to sort of get towards my goal, and it changed my life. You know, I got to get a head start in how my body worked and how things moved, and ended up meeting Andrew, who told me, was the first person ever said you could be a juggler. And
Instead of a zoologist.
yeah, exactly. I was stuck drinking the Kool-Aid, and yeah, this crazy pot smoking hippie. Can we say pot smoking, Andrew?
It's too late now.
Too late. It's too late. Yeah. Well, he didn't smoke the pot, but I saw other people near him smoking the pot. Yeah, he was this crazy guy who said it was okay, and I really benefit. I really credit Andrew and for giving me the chance to be who I am today. I mean, I was a full-time juggler up until a couple months ago, but yeah. And I loved it. I loved learning how my body moved. You know, you guys taught me just all the little subtleties of making juggling look cool, and how not just juggling mattered, but the movement, and each little piece added so much to that. And I still think dance is the secret to all great juggling, you know. And I learned this.
And you had quite a career, or still have a career. Is it in Las Vegas, Mark? Is that where you were?
Well, you know, I did Vegas for a while. I did cruise ships for a while. Ended up doing college gigs for 30 years. And now I do just a one-man show in performing arts centers. So I do a show called Science Explosion, which teaches kids critical thinking. And then I also do a show called Mark Nizer 4D, where I juggle and I do my stand-up, and you wear these special 4D glasses during the show, which use a color shift to do like an augmented reality with color depth and things like that. And it was a great business model up until COVID came and shut me down. So.
Well, yes, that's why we're all here.
Yeah, gotta reinvent yourself.
So there are good things about it. So, so how about Pat? You were also in the early days. You have to.
Yep.
Indeed, I was. Yes. Yeah, 1984. I traveled down to Florida with the troupe, Jen, Dennis, Andrew, and we did Heart on a Sleeve. Is that what we did? I was a clown. Yeah, so I was a puppeteer, and then Kitchensink Mime turned me into a clown briefly. It wasn't great to be a clown. And then I went back to puppetry as Halfpenny Theater, and I had a one-person show, and I had big hair. And then I did some first-person experience stories about the single life, which got me a little bit into trouble. And then I backed off that. And then I went to puppets because that was honest and wholesome, and you could earn a living in the schools. And then my husband joined me, and the shows got bigger and more out of control. And we went to New York in the summers, and he was a bear and I was a ranger, and he was a swagman and I was a kangaroo, and he was I don't know, an alligator and a snake, and I was a rabbit. And,
what is happening?
Stuff happened over the years.
Happening?
And then I got old, and I was just too damn old for the road. And so now I've backed into storytelling, back to where I was with first-person experience stories. I'm trying to get myself into trouble again, but I don't really have the energy to get into big trouble. So I'm just managing it. A little bit here, a little bit there, doing more listening, working with people working on their first-person experience stories, fashioned after the moth.
Nice.
And that's what I'm doing, pretty much. Except I'm also a majorette with leftist marching band, so I dance. Yes, Mark, dancing. That's what it's all about.
Well, we're going to come back to, because I think the first show that New Hampshire Theatre Project officially produced was Along the Boomerang Coast, which was your show.
Yes, and this is like a little award that we got for the best show children's production of 1989 from New Hampshire Public Radio.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I found it in my stash of stuff.
That's great. And then the next show that we did as New Hampshire Theatre Project was Rocky and Bullwinkle. So I want to get to that because we have Carrie and Peggy. But before that, I'm about to skip to BJ because he was one of the touring artists in the early years.
That's me. Hi. Yes. I am BJ Hickman, although my real name is bjhickman.com. But it needs to reach me. No, I'm a magician. I magish, and that's what I did way back when Kitchensink Productions and New Hampshire Theatre Project. I don't know how long Jen, help me. How long had you already been doing things when I joined the ranks with Andrew? Good seeing you, Andrew.
Yeah, you too, BJ.
And thank you all. Thank you for all the times that you told me I should charge more. Because I needed that confidence and I needed to ask for more money. But I lived at the time in a place called Dover, New Hampshire, where I still reside. But we built a house next door to our old house. But we're still in Dover. 2 children, 4 grandchildren. And for a while, ever since then, I tried to break ground with speaking presentations. And I did a lot of speaking presentations all around the country with a program called Pediatrics, Tricks, in which I would talk to pediatricians and pediatric nurses and healthcare professionals who work with children and teach them magic tricks and curiosities and diversions that they could use to make kids feel more comfortable in the doctor's office. That's my elevator speech for that. And it went very well. I did a lot of roundtables at hospitals and conferences for nurse practitioners, and it got me gigs in Waikiki Beach and Phoenix and all over the place. But what I really needed to make a go of that was a sponsor, like a drug company or a pharmaceutical, or a drug company is a pharmaceutical company, isn't it? But or something that had to do with healthcare. And I tried to sell that idea and failed miserably. A lot of the people who had booked me for the speaking presentations would have me back a year or 2 later and so forth. And so it worked out well for a while, but my real niche was doing magic shows back home here in New England, in New Hampshire and Maine and Massachusetts. So I've been canceled for all of the usual gigs locally from for the last few months, from the Freiburg Fair coming up in October, and I worked the Palace Theatre in Manchester the week of the 4th for the last 8 or 10 years, do 4 shows there, and that got canceled the other day, or postponed. It makes it seem more like they're going to get me back. Probably not till next year, however. And a lot of locals, fairs and festivals and old home days and that kind of same stuff. Andrew, Jen, that we were doing way back when, the only one I lost was the Somersworth International Children's Festival that we all worked together. And one day I had a proposal. I said, gee, let's do a life contract. Since you have me back every year anyway, let's do a deal as a publicity stunt to raise awareness of the festival and my magic show. And they said, let me get back to you on that. And I hadn't been back since, and that was about 25 years ago. I did the first 25 years of that.
All
the
right,
longest running gig
BJ,
is for the, what?
I'm going to just stop you because we got a lot of folks. I love seeing you, and I really want to hear more, but I want to hear from everyone else too.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to ask people just a sentence or 2 about what you're doing.
Oh, sorry.
And,
I didn't
that's
know
all right.
this.
We'll have more time to catch up later. Okay.
I'm here.
So Carrie and Peggy, I see you there, and I only found one photo of Rocky and Bullwinkle. We lost a hard drive that had most of our digital stuff on it. It is being retrieved, but I couldn't get it together for this. But do you want to talk a little bit about, you don't have to talk about Rocky and Bullwinkle, but your role. And I hear you're moving.
We are moving. We are moving. No, these smokes, I want to talk about Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh,
If Andrew were still working for you, you wouldn't have lost that hard drive.
that's right. We're having trouble hearing you, Peggy.
No, that's Carrie's mic on his computer.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm Peggy McCarthy. I played Rocky in Rocky and Bullwinkle. It was great. Dennis was Bullwinkle. He taught me how to be lifted so I would look like I was flying. That was fun. And Andrew directed it. It was really fun. And Jen came in.
Jen helped. I'll remind everybody.
Jen helped. I remember. I remember. And I also worked helping New Hampshire Theatre Project book people like BJ and Pat and other people for a year or 2 years. Was it 2 years? I think it was 1 year. But anyway, it was a brief 2 years if it was a year. And Carrie and I are co-founders of Generic Theatre, which was founded in '81, a little after you guys, and it's still going. So, and I act and direct, and I've taught theater, and I'm a writer, and do all that stuff that doesn't pay any money. And now we teach Tai Chi. Both of us happen to teach Tai Chi for the Taoist Tai Chi Society, which we also don't make. In fact, we pay in order to do that. So we've been getting, but and yet Carrie's retiring, and we're able to do that somehow on no money.
Yeah, so for my part, actually, I first met Jen and Dennis taking kitchen sink mime classes in early '82. So that's when I first met them. Since then, I've collaborated with a number of you all there on that screen. Certainly with Jen doing the Blithe Spirit not too long ago. With Blair, I designed the sets for The Diary of 12 Angry Mice and Men at the Palace. Actually, those 3 different shows. Yeah, I've also worked with Randy Armstrong for many years at Phillips Exeter. Mostly, I just set up chairs for him and provided a little bit of light. That was about all I did, except for clapping a lot for his great work. And Bruce Morris also, I hired him to do some lighting at Phillips Exeter. I even hired Blair to do some fight choreography. What
Thank
else? Yeah, I've worked with Pat Spalding, being on the live stories, whatever. Yeah.
True Tales Live.
True Tales Live. So anyway, I'm happy to be retiring. Skowhegan is near where my brother and his wife live. They're both DJs in a new radio station that started a few years ago. Also, John Kimball has retired in Skowhegan with his partner, and he runs a theater, or he produces things at a nice 800+ seat theater in Skowhegan. So we're looking forward to getting out of Dodge for a while.
We just keep going on, we theater people. Welcome. I see Dennis has joined us. We'll let him get settled in. Since you mentioned Blair and Randy, why don't we jump over to them for a minute? So Blair, I've been trying to figure out when you came on the scene, and it just feels like it was forever, but.
I think it was early 90s, and I was working at the American Stage Festival, and we hired you to direct the show, and then you and I and Dennis went out and we're doing a tour of something, and I just remember loading the red van a lot.
Yeah.
The little dwarf door into your cellar, like I was the only one who could bend over low enough to get sets in and out of that fucking place. Yeah, and then highlights were definitely just watching Randy run over a dead moose and for my second motorcycle. That's my there's my 2 sentences.
Yes, well, we should come back to the moose story, but Randy, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Yes, all right. Okay, cool. I knew of Kitchensink in the 80s when I was touring with DOA World Music Ensemble. And when DOA had finished its kind of like 17 years, formed Unamondo. And I think our first time that we worked together was at the Music Hall with Beyond Myth. And from that led into World Tales, Jen and I doing 2 albums together, and it's been just wonderful. And I know a lot of the folks here on the screen from other settings too. So it's really cool, like Bruce at the Music Hall in the DOA years and things like that. And so it's fantastic to see everyone. I think I want to say that one of my favorite things was getting into arts and education, which Jen encouraged me to do because I was mostly just touring, and I still do it to this day. And our residencies, multi-artist residencies in Holderness, New Hampshire, are still just some of the most spectacular arts events that I've ever been a part of.
Wow.
And I think for the kids that experienced that, and for us as artists, there were some really special moments.
Where was
and
that,
a lot of
Randy?
laughs.
Where in Holderness?
Holderness Central School is where we were.
It was the public school.
Public
yeah.
school, which
tried
was
to
very
find-
well funded.
Yeah.
So
I tried to
so
find
those
some
are-
photos,
those are-
but I couldn't. Because we did
Yeah,
that for
there's
many years.
Pardon me?
We did that. We did Holderness for many years. There were a
And-
number of the artists that were involved with that. So,
Right.
yeah, except
right.
I think you and I were the only ones that did it through its entirety, 25
Jim and
years.
Blair and yeah, it was
Yeah,
it was a great.
Dennis was in on that.
Yeah, Dennis. Yes, yes.
So let's move on because we have a couple of the folks that helped us with lighting and sound and design. You mentioned Bruce. So Bruce Morris, I'm so happy to see you.
You too, Jen. I can't believe my luck arriving in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, May of 1981, looking for summer theater work out of Providence. And what a treasure trove I landed in. Over the years, I have worked with many of the faces across the top and side and down around the bottom of the screen. And you helped all lay the foundation for my work in the theater, in dance, opera, you name it, in the entertainment business. And you are all such remarkably gifted artists and human beings. So I just want to say thank you all for having created this synergy around the seacoast that still exists today, as witnessed by this call tonight, even through this dreadful pandemic. My hat's off to all of you for creating art in a community that certainly is head and shoulders above many places that I have been, including New York City. And so thank you. And it's just wonderful to see you all tonight. I'll leave it there for now. Back to you, Jen.
All right, great to have you. So yeah, how about Glenn Wood? Now, Glenn, I have to say that I'd forgotten that you used to work for, I knew we lived next door, we were neighbors.
That's how the whole thing started.
Yep.
I came home from one day from work, minding my own business, and I was set upon by Mr. Nickerson and pulled into one of your shows as rehearsal. And next thing I know, I'm running lights and doing tech for you as you needed me. It was fun. It kept me out of trouble somewhat. Somewhat.
Well, we couldn't track down Todd Wellington Nickerson, but we do have Ronald. Someone was saying, was it you, Andrew, when we talked the other night? You said, wasn't he a Unitarian minister? So you had the Church of the Lighter Side, one of my favorite shows.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was trying to remember how to intro this whole thing. And really, in late 1987, I was transitioning out of being the minister at the First Unitarian Society in Exeter, and got involved very rapidly with the community theater scene in Portland. You know, Prescott, Portsmouth Academy of Performing Arts, PAPA, and then Generic Theater, and then Kitchensink, and then this amazing synchronicity, because one of my jobs after leaving the ministry was a desktop publisher at Pip Printing, and I had this amazing overlap with Andy of juggling and Mac nerdery and lots of, it was an incredibly exciting period of my life. And I'm sorry that Todd isn't here, because we had quite the collaboration. I was the smaller half of Max and Elmo's hijinks, which was a blast. And it is great to see so many of these folks that I remember. And we're living in Portland, Oregon now. We moved here 5.5 years ago because we're grandparents, and I'm an Apple consultant helping people remotely with their computers, and still trying to bring a lighter side to it as I help my clients deal with the frustrations of, like, it's almost theological questions like, why me? Why is my computer torturing me? So I love my work most of the time, but I sure do miss juggling and performing. And thanks for organizing this. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Well, I'm glad to have you, Ronald. Your better half, Lisa, I assume we were hoping she could join us too, because she and Pat and I had a show, women's work, that we toured for quite a while.
She is doing a stint babysitting our grandson Soren at the kids' house this evening, so she couldn't be here, but
well, we're glad that you joined us.
Thank you.
And we were speaking of Mac nerdery. I was reminiscing about the fact that the FileMaker data system that Andrew started in 1984, and you helped us nurse along, Ronald, at one point, I believe, we used in some version or another up until about 3 years ago, when we finally, went to the cloud. So it was pretty amazing. And I think I still have that original Mac Plus computer down in my basement.
Wow.
So Jim Sears. James, I found a poster of Child's Christmas in Wales.
I still have one. I can't find it at the moment because I've been moving so much, but yep, I still have it framed. No, your Child's Christmas in Wales. Well, I've known Jenny and Dennis since before Kitchensink. I mean, we were in college together, and then when I moved back in '89, I lived downstairs from them, and yep, but Child's Christmas in Wales was just great. And that's, I'm still acting. I'm actually, even in the pandemic, doing Zoom Shakespeare 2 or 3 times a week.
What?
For Shakespeare Happy Hour. We Zoom it and it streams live on YouTube. And I was in rehearsal for a production of Copenhagen at the Hatbox in Concord when it was going to go up in May, and then oops. So it's we still rehearse occasionally. I didn't know what Zoom was in January, and somebody said, a company I work with out of UNH, I got this email, well, we can't all get together for rehearsal, but I just want to have a Zoom meeting. And I thought it just meant a really quick meeting. And then I said, so how quick will be the meeting? And it was explained to me by the young man that manages the company that, no, old man, this is what Zoom is. And but now I'm a Zoom aficionado. But no, it's those were great years in the 90s. Ah, my Lord, how are you, sir? Dennis.
Quiet as a tomb.
Yes, the old loyal fescue, my Lord. No.
Sonnet is a grave.
So I was reminiscing that, Jim, you were in 2, well, actually Dennis as well, of the 3 versions of Waiting for Godot that New Hampshire Theatre Project produced over 30 years.
Yes.
And then Blair was in the next version, I think. Yeah. So Dennis, are you ready to share?
Yes. I'll have to talk fast because there's a lot I want to say. And being out in Los Angeles here, it's almost time for my 5 o'clock heroin shot. But yeah, it's first of all, it is so good to see all of you and looking all healthy and smiling and surviving. There are people out here that we've lost recently that, you know, for various reasons are not surviving, and you guys are still doing it, and I'm still doing it. Briefly, just, you know, a couple of quick thoughts I had while you guys were talking. Number one, Sears. Speaking of Godot, Miraculous and Superb are
Oh, yes,
still
my lord.
trotting the
Yes.
boards.
Mhm.
Yeah. But, you know, regarding computers, those of you who knew me way back when knew my incredible love for all things technological. And I just want you all to know that yesterday I did a system restore by myself. Just in case anyone has any questions about my ability.
That would explain the
Did it with a
disturbance in the
hammer, and I'm
force.
not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure hammer was the way to go, but it worked. But yeah, it's crazy out here, guys. I'm not ashamed to admit that it wasn't too long after I got out here that I was quickly and firmly aged out of the stunt business. So much as I fought against it, here I am teaching stage combat and stunts to high school kids again, but loving it. The company is working. We're surviving through all of this. We have a whole new program that involves briefly helping kids learn science through an interactive crime scene investigation system where they actually meet real people, real criminals, well, acting criminals, you know, lawyers, and we're doing it primarily for the continuation schools in Los Angeles. I don't know if you guys had that back there, but this basically was the garbage can for LAUSD for years and years and years with kids who were not going to make it out of high school. And they put them in these continuation schools, basically with a bunch of workbooks and computerized forms, literally to simply ship them out of the school system and get them graduated. What we do is an actual interactive program which teaches them stuff in real time, real life situations. And we've had kids who were failing high school, who weren't going to graduate, who've gone on to law school and criminal science colleges, law enforcement. Some of them were on the other end of law enforcement when they arrived. And God forbid, some of them have gone into acting. I've tried to tell them, but they won't listen.
Well, that's pretty wonderful, Dennis. I for one am glad to hear that you are still teaching, because you were always an incredible teacher.
Wow.
So I know we want to hear more, but let's see who we haven't heard from. Jim Kelly.
Yeah, well, we could continue with the education theme here, because that's how I got involved with you guys. Talking about Holderness, before there was Holderness, there was Alton High School. And these guys, Dennis and Jen and Dan Hurlin, put together this idea that they would take over a high school for a month. They'd write a play, cast it, do set design, the whole thing. Emil was another one who was in that group. And so at the last minute, I guess it was Paul Maraska dropped out, and you guys were like hard up, who's going to write the damn play? And I never wrote a play, but Jen came up to me and said, you could do it. Come on, you're a writer, it's words or whatever. And so I signed on, and I ended up doing several Altons, several Holdernesses. And it was just a wonderful thing. The way we inspired, I mean, not just, all of us, we inspired these kids. They were hungry, and we fed them stuff that I think it's the case that people who did a residency, kids who did a residency with us, can't remember who the hell we are, but they remember that residency as one of the highlights of their career. So I got big kudos for the education thing, but as a collateral damage, as I sit there watching these kids write plays, I'm saying, hey, I'm a college grad, I could write plays. And so I started writing plays as well, and I have a semi-flourishing side career as a playwright. Theatre Project did 2 of my big plays, The Duel, and I have not yet begun to fight. And I have continued to write plays. I had a play get canceled in March, and I have a play probably going to get canceled in August, but I'm still writing them and still getting them produced. So thank you very much. It's your fault if you don't like my plays. Some of these people here are responsible.
Yes, indeed. So we have 3, well, 4 former board members, but Jan, I'm going to save you to close us out here. And I realized, Stephen, Elaine, and Kate, that at one point, all of you were presidents, actually. Yes, I can't remember in what order. Maybe you do. But Stephen, why don't we, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good to see everybody, particularly those that I haven't seen in a long time. New Hampshire Theatre folklore has it that the actual gestation of the New Hampshire Theatre Project started 10 years before it actually was given birth, when Dennis and Jen were on the caravan wagon that was out of the University of New Hampshire, where the mime troupe started. And that's where I met Genevieve and Dennis. And 10 years later, they were the people that were responsible for my wife and I meeting each other. And to me, with all due respect, the greatest production that Dennis and Genevieve ever produced was our wedding. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have had that wedding. And we were so gracious, they were so gracious to actually sing at our wedding. And I think my connection to NHTP was, I think, formulated back in '76 and just continued to grow ever since then. And consequently, I got to meet most of you, if not all of you, in some form or fashion. And just a little postscript, one of my favorite shows that NHTP ever did, and there's a prize if you can guess which show this is. This is my wife, and she was the picture on the wall for Harvey. So with that, I'm in. Good to see everybody.
Harvey was a production. So how about Elaine? You also had a youth repper. Oh,
Jen, if I could just jump in real briefly.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask Stephen, did you notice that the minute you mentioned Little Red Wagon, that Jen and I immediately took a drink? I'm just...
There's a form of PTSD that comes with that, Dennis. But between your medication and your therapy, I think you're doing fine now.
Oh, good point. Good point. Go ahead, Elaine. Sorry.
Well, having no performance history myself, I just went with the next generation, which I'm still working on. You know, I'm still in politics and human services myself. And I've got Corey Owens-Beauchene, who some of you have probably seen in the youth theater and actually in the main stage too, Jen, right?
Yes.
And now I've got a 8-year-old who's still, you know, just getting started in the theater, but loves it. So I'm thinking I was on the board for most of the 90s, maybe 91 and on, maybe 91 to 01, something like that. So I know most of you, not all of you, the early days. I was not here in the 80s. So it's great to connect with all of you. And there's a, you know, stuff, the elephant situation.
I think we lost her.
There you are, back live.
Did we find it?
Ah, the elephant.
Well, the elephant in the room, for those of you who haven't been around for a while, the Elephant in the Room series is started about 3 years ago, and it's a series of we take topics that are stigmatized or difficult to discuss, and we do play readings and community discussions about them, and it's become a signature series. We always did that to a certain extent, but this time we actually trademarked it.
And there's a little bit more New Hampshire theater folklore about the Elephant in the Room series. That started with Horton Hatches the Egg, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my God. Oh, yes. All right, we're not going to go back that far, Steve.
I'm sorry.
Let's see, where's Kate? I see Kate. She hasn't had a chance to talk. And Kate's worn many hats through the years with NHTP.
So I was working at a theater and it closed up in Laconia. And Mike and Ann Carnaby were my technical support, and they offered me a job and managing their Hampton office. They had an office in Hampton and an office in Boston. And I took it and got to know some of these, really interesting performers in the area, including Kitchensink Mime. And that was my first introduction to Jen and Dennis. And I don't know exactly what year it was, but I know it was in the 80s, because many of you may not remember this, but you performed at my wedding in 1990. So I know that in the 80s, I knew you, right? And Dennis was running this big sound system in the backyard of the house in Rochester. And we had this reception where all my theater friends did something. We had a variety show. It was wonderful. Somewhere after that, I served on the board. I was a president for a little while and served on the board and started getting involved in productions and doing some artist in residency stuff. During that time, I was also in college. I got my master's degree and so I had done some, acting training and did some more with all you. Some of my favorite times were in the York Shakespeare Festival with the sixth graders and doing the rhythm and drumming and cultural pieces with Randy. So the arts and education piece was great. And I was homeschooling, and then I had 4 kids, one of whom, by the way, performed at the Caravan at UNH. and I was, it comes around, I'm telling you. I was dragging the kids with me because they were homeschooled to many of our events. And so they would come and watch the, warm-ups that we did with the 6th graders in the Shakespeare festivals and another number of arts and residence programs with us. And so God help me, 3 out of 4 of them are professional theater and dance people now today. Well, not today because the virus, they're not working, but I have 2 in New York and 1 in Washington. And thank God the other one is going to college for business. But yeah, they all have theater and dance degrees, except for Skylar, who's currently working on his entrepreneurship at at UVM in Burlington. I took all of this stuff and transitioned into lead paint consulting, and I do teaching and training, and I did a TEDx talk. I want to tell you, that was the most harrowing script I ever had to learn. Anyway, so it all works, and I still continue to do stuff with New Hampshire Theatre Project. I was actually working on a show that ended up getting canceled this summer, but yeah, loving it. We'll never give it up. And you all are getting old. I don't know how we did that, but I'm looking around going, wow, look at us all. But anyway, I love it. I wouldn't trade it, right? Given the alternatives. So yeah, here we are. I think we should do something. We should all get together and do something that requires you to be 60 and up. What do you think?
Sounds good. I have to tell you that I searched everywhere there is a picture of Kate and Blair at the York Shakespeare Festival. You're in these crazy costumes and you're cheering like for the kids. It's the best picture. I couldn't find it anywhere, but I'm going to dig it up.
That would be great.
All right, Jan, you are our.
How about Jennifer?
Oh, where is Jen? Oh, Jennifer. I
she
didn't
is.
see her. I knew she was here. Oh, I don't have everyone on my screen. Jennifer, our another board
there she
president,
is.
who was on for years and years and years.
You're muted, Jennifer.
There you go.
Okay, so yeah, I'm one of the non-artists for sure. I think I got involved. maybe in 97. We moved from Washington, D.C. to this area in 96, and I had an 8 and 5-year-old that I was looking for a positive experience for in theater. And I ended up joining the board, I think, before Luke got involved. But I've been in and out of involvement since then. It's been not only transformational for my kids. I feel like Jen and Pat and Blair all helped me raise my kids and keep them out of trouble. They're not in theater now, but they will say to this day that what they learned at New Hampshire Theatre Project helps them every day, and they're like in data analytics and stuff. And not only, and I'm a huge fan of what NHTP does, but it's also been my community over the 25 years I've been here. And now I'm mostly involved. I was the president for, seemed like a decade, but maybe it wasn't that long. Now I'm involved in the Elephant in the Room series, and my background is health and mental health, and so that fits really beautifully with kind of my professional orientation. It's been great. I'm a huge supporter and believer in.
And Jennifer, you were on the board during the time when we went after everything that happened at the shipyard.
Definitely.
And we went through that entire period and decided this was it. We couldn't go through this again. For those of you who might not know this, you know, we, after having many, many homes, and at noon tomorrow, there, if you want to, there's a virtual tour of all of those homes that we had over the years. We had signed an agreement with the Navy. We were going to become the resident company on the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. And we signed that agreement on August 26th, 2001. And 3 weeks later, 9/11 happened and the whole deal was off. And I remember one time I had a dream, Jennifer, I think I told you this, that we were a little tugboat with a giant ocean liner. We were trying to turn this organization around. But then we had the opportunity to move into the West End, and there we are.
Yeah,
So
there were many moments where I thought we were like a hair's breadth away from dissolving. Just poof.
Yes. And that's happened many times over the years, but it's quite miraculous. And even now, I haven't looked at it, but when we started this, our New Hampshire Give site, we were 40% towards our $10,000 goal. People have just been incredible, and that's a tribute to all the work that you all have done over the years. So Janice, you've worn so many hats in this.
I was just thinking, okay, was the caravan out of UNH the Little Red Wagon?
Well, it was two.
Oh my God.
It was two separate. Yeah,
I worked, it was two separate things, but.
Well, they were all part of Theater Resources for Youth. Yeah.
Oh, so I was a counselor at a rec department and a camper in Hampstead and saw Little Red Wagon somewhere in the 70s. Like, I couldn't tell you. And then, so we first really met though. So Dennis, you and Jen, you might remember, I can't remember what year it was. I think it was either 88 or 89 when you did a residency, or there were several residencies, but I think the first one when I was working at Odyssey House in Hampton. Do you remember? It was there were two really long residencies that happened there. And honestly, I got handed that program, and the principal said, okay, you got to make this work. I was like, what's an artist residency? I don't even know. And that kicked off 30 plus years of arts education. Like, I've never left. So after those first couple residencies, then, I mean, Randy, Blair, we did work together, and Jim over the years, like through into the 2000s. There were so many artist residencies that I can't even remember them all. And the thing is, what you all said about the impact on kids is, oh, it's just profound. And it's, it's some of my favorite moments. Blair, I always think of that. God, do you remember that youth training program that we did? And we had kids 8 hours a day producing a show for like 6 weeks. We were ready to kill every single one of them by, the end of the first week. And they produced this amazing show in Portsmouth. Do you remember that? it was
Wow.
unreal.
Of course I
It
know.
was unreal. It was so much work, and but it was life altering for those kids. They were, anyway.
I
And
remember
so
Odyssey House though. Man, that was tough.
I know,
Tough
Yeah.
crowd.
I know. That was an amazing place. And then I don't even know. There have been so many iterations of how we work together. And I was on the board at the time of the Shipyard with Stephen and Jennifer and Elaine when we were trying to get the theater at the Shipyard. We had it. Never mind trying. We had it.
We had it. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, it's
gosh,
barely dry.
that was tragic. Anyway, and now I'm back. It was a
back.
brief intermission while I did some after school stuff and moved to DC, but now I'm back and doing marketing, which is hilarious. I love it. Yeah, it's just so fun. I literally, and I actually, Jen, remembered that you and I performed together. We sang Gershwin's "Let's Call the Whole Thing Off."
Oh, we did. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah,
Was
exactly.
that at the women's place?
At the Spring Fling, probably at the
Yeah.
That's what it
City Club.
was.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite fundraisers. I
Wasn't
just
it
thought it
fun?
was charming. Yeah,
It was so
I remember
fun.
you and Dennis, and it was really fun.
Yeah.
Dennis,
Yeah.
remember we sang some song. I can't remember what. Maybe it was from "I Do, I Do" about a married couple having a fight. It was very happy.
I remember it well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really fun. That was fun.
Didn't I do the "Don't Do Drugs" song?
Yes, you did that one. Yeah, I remember
Drugs
that.
rap. Just give me my Viagra. That's yeah.
Right. Chardonnay or something. Yeah.
Funny.
Which
Anyway.
drugs were you talking about exactly?
I don't remember, just general. Well, it was kind of this middle-aged woman was talking about don't do drugs, and she was drinking her Chardonnay, poured it. Like, mine's all gone. So that was the thing.
Well, we were supposed to end at 8, but if everyone would be up for staying for another 5 minutes or so, I'd love to I put together a few slides. We can just go through them quickly. And as I said, I couldn't find a lot. Then my scanner went down, so I was snapping pictures with the iPhone. But I just thought it'd be fun to take a short trip down memory lane.
Did Tamara get a chance to speak?
Oh, well, I introduced her,
Okay.
but Tamara, did you want to speak?
No, just this has been great seeing all of your faces and listening to the history.
She was sitting, so we established at the beginning that Tamara actually came on. She's been started in about the time after we moved into West.
That's right. I just didn't want her to get. I'm sensitive to the non-artists.
No, that's all right. And did I miss anyone else? Because I don't always have everyone on my screen. All right, here we go. Let's see if I can do this. All right.
Just please tell me the Sleason's greetings card is not in there again.
No, what's that card?
So I had to
Oh,
put this
God.
picture in because of the, this Kitchensink mime shirt, but you show me yours and I'll show you mine was a collector's item. I think somebody's were stolen, but this was our very first studio, which was up on the 3rd floor of the old post office building. So I love that picture because of that. And I was hoping Colleen was going to be here because this was Kitchensink Mime Theater at the Prescott Park Arts Festival. And Dennis, many, I love that picture.
Me and Janet in the middle.
Yeah, and these were, so Colleen and John. Dennis, do you remember his last name? I don't know if I remember his last name.
It'll come to me probably an hour after we're done.
Yeah, probably. And then this was there were lots of bad pictures of some Christmas show we did where Colleen was a doll and I don't know what you were, but it was funny. Yeah, and this was the South Street place where we completely renovated the old it was an old auto shop, and we scraped all the gunk off of the floor. That's why I
Actually,
had to-
it was a candy factory.
yeah. And
Before it was an auto shop.
yeah, and all that, like 50 years of stuff was on that floor. And Colleen and I were reminiscing about when we were finished polyurethaning it, and then we drank all this coffee, and then we went to see The Shining, and we were completely high. But then I had to throw this picture in there because just to show that I actually could do that at one time. Just yeah. Whoops. Oh, why isn't it moving along there? Oh yeah. So these were just a couple of the old Americans in Paris. We used to do that with the symphonies. Remember that one?
I remember these.
Oh, the hairdryer.
And the hairdryer. I'd forgotten the
I
hairdryer.
remember the hairdryer.
And then Pat sent these. There's Auntie Ant.
No, that's well, that's
that's not
my
Auntie Ant?
adult version of Auntie Ant. That's not Auntie Ant.
Oh, okay.
That's Molly Coddle Pete.
Oh, Pete, that's right. How could I forget?
Molly Mike.
Along the Boomerang Coast, and then Mr. Bear. Sorry,
Yeah,
David.
I was the Madonna kangaroo with Joey and Beaniekins, and I was the Madonna Ranger with the bear.
Oh, and then Andrew, you sent me some great shots. Those were the days.
Yeah.
Roll
More
ball.
things than can be humanly held.
Yes. And I remember this was, we were all up at the North Country. I remember when Van was running that theater, and they had made posters of all
And
of
they
our
spelled
shows.
my name wrong, god damn it.
They always did.
They always do.
These were the only artist in residence shots I could find. That's from the Odyssey House residency. And this one I actually pulled from a newspaper article, the York Shakespeare Festival. We have gorgeous photos of all these things, but I wasn't able to track them down. Oh, there is another sleeping studio.
Yay!
Oh boy.
But the best part was all the people that thought we had sent this out to the schools. Oh God. Oh yeah. And I have to point out that 30 years later, there's the same hat that Andrew was wearing. It was still around just to show, never throw anything away at New Hampshire Theatre Project. Oh, that's yeah. That was Heart in a Sleeve. That's that when you were a clown, Pat.
Yeah, that's me in the nose.
Then and Pyramids and Thisbe. And then there's, yeah, so these were the first, I'd forgotten that we produced a movement festival at UNH, which I think was the very first thing we did. And then we did Boomerang Coast and Rocky and Bullwinkle. I can't remember, they all get confused in my mind. And that was the only Rocky and Bullwinkle shot I could find.
Hey, Rocky, why don't you pull a rabbit out of the hat?
And that was, is that Dennis Purdy? Was that his name? I'd forgotten.
Yes.
And Alice in Wonderland, that show, it was a total bomb because it was just too punky. But we had fun doing it.
Yeah, it wasn't ready for Manchester.
No. And I'd forgotten I did this show with Deborah Stewart, Campfire Songs and Stories. My 80s hair is particularly fetching in that. And then there's the Church of the Lighter Side. Ronald, you sent me some of these great photos. I tried to track down Todd. And then that's the Child Christmas in Wales. And another one I'd forgotten about, motherhood, menopause, and big game hunting, Pat.
Yep.
Oh. And there was Fabulous Fairy Tales, Blair, and the Shakespeare Unplugged. There were like, how many? There were several different actresses there. Claire Callahan was in that, and Liz.
Oh, I went through them like tissue paper.
Yeah. And so I don't know if anyone remembers, I couldn't track down either Liz or Mimi. But that was, and then this was a great picture from Beyond Myth there. We still use those blue things. We still use all the time. And the kimonos. And that was Beyond Myth. So that was when we toured that with Randy's full band. And then I found some pictures of our cultural trade mission, Randy, with Van, who organized that. And that was our famous picture in Northern Ireland. Million Ford. Oh, Jane was supposed to come tonight too, but she couldn't make it. These were some posters from the teen camps at the music hall.
Epic. Those were epic.
They were amazing. And there's Waiting for Godot or Godot, which Jimmy was in, and then later Dennis and John Paul Jones, which is what we ended up doing when we couldn't get into the shipyard. The famous story where he forgot to say the line, I have not yet begun to fight. Jim Burkholder dropped that line of all the lines to drop. I remember this old lady came up to me and she said, I'm so surprised that, he never said that famous line. And I was like, yeah, so are we. And then after that this was when we first moved to West. And I remember, with Marguerite and Greg and me and Blair and other helpers, but basically the four of us just transformed that place. And now it's home. It's blank up here because we're having a new sign painted.
Hey,
and it doesn't look too festive because nothing's happening there right now. And then I just thought it would be appropriate. I did a little memorial slide for all the folks who we've lost. It was sad to think about them. I mean, Valerie, who was there in the beginning, Nancy Hill, who was one of our big funders, Carol Masseri, who booked us for many years in her schools, and left me her mink coat in her will. Our beloved Lisa Richardson, who did a lot of shows that Blair directed and Jim scripts. Bob and Barbara Pearson, who hosted us for many, many years after the first nights. Bob just died last year. I was a pallbearer for him. Rick Davis passed away 2 years ago, Pat. I was hoping
I think it might have been more than that.
I think it was more than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ann Hogan, who used to work in the office. And I know, Blair, you saw her not too long before she died. She was at Edgewood. And Van, and then Ree, who was Dennis's partner for many years. So I just thought it would be appropriate to say thank you to all of them. And now I have to figure out how to get out of screen sharing. Why can't I do this?
Can I get a higher resolution of the photo that's behind me right now, if possible?
I'm sorry?
Can I get a higher resolution of the photo that's behind me right now?
I don't know, because I can't see you because I'm still trying to figure out how to get out of, I seem to be frozen here.
Yeah, I remember that photo.
Yeah, you don't want any higher resolution than that, Mark. You really don't.
What, you don't know me. You don't know me. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Well, that's too much time in Las Vegas, my friend.
I'm having so much trouble. Oh, there we go. Okay, gotcha. You're back.
There you go.
All right.
So can I get one now that you've seen the photo?
Where are you? Oh, that photo, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
That's Leesen's greetings, yeah.
All right, I'll expect it in my Dropbox.
Okay, yeah.
That's one of my favorite
Those
photos.
things went on, I would have come to more meetings.
Can you crop out Andrew though for me?
Yeah, right.
I don't know how to use Photoshop, so.
I had those magnets on my refrigerator for a number of years until one by one they all fell off.
Yeah, that was during the time that I got into trouble.
I don't know if anyone else has it.
What?
That's right. Yeah. I don't know if anyone else has it, but I still have the kitchen sink calendar.
Oh,
we did one calendar for 1 year.
I remember that.
Oh, yes. I'd forgotten. Huh. Wow.
Is it a nude calendar?
There's 1 year.
Picture per month.
Some of it. Yeah.
Pat, what were you saying?
Yeah,
You got
I think it had Horton the elephant in it.
Well, I know we're over our time, and actually there's something else that's already started, but that's okay. maybe should we just go around? Can we do one word of a goodbye?
Word?
Can we do one word about this stroll down memory lane? And I hope that we'll all keep in touch, and those who aren't able to make it, encourage them to keep in touch as well. Because one of the things about this pandemic is that, you know, we can talk to each other from anywhere pretty easily.
Grateful.
Hi, everybody.
Grateful.
I'm waving to Mrs. Chen. Sorry.
Dennis. Oh my God.
What? What did you say?
Oh, we have Mrs. Giannotti here.
I know, I was at another meeting. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to say hi.
With her official
hat. Nice to see you.
Excellent.
Yeah, we got to see your poster of you as Harvey.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah. That was a while ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to go. I will say inspired.
Oh.
I have
to go
too, and I'm going to say remarkable.
Yeah.
Well,
it was
pleasure.
really
Thank-
fun, really fun.
thank you all so much for doing this. Let's do it again.
Meaningful. This means something.
Meaningful. It's good.
Meaningful.
Just lovely.
Fortunate.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Love you all.
Love you all.
Drink it up.
Bye now. This was great.
Dennis,
Yes.
Thank you.
Randy.
Bye.
Off we go.
Send me the picture.
I will.
All right, I'm watching you.
Yeah, we're watching your head float around us.
24/7, so I can see everything.
That's spooky.
You know I can do it.
Oh, he's floating.
So great to see you all.
Yeah, good to see us three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to see who would stay the longest.
Well, I'm not sure I can actually close this meeting because Katharine is in charge, but she appears to be gone. So anyway, here we are.
She's bored. She just muted
Yeah, she's-
herself and left.
Yeah,
Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
Good. I can close it if we're done. We're official.
Well, thank you so much for hosting this, Katharine.
Yeah. Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Good to see you, Dennis. Hey, you know, now and then. Last time was like 2007.
Actually, out here.
Yeah. Yeah, on my way back from New Zealand.
At some seedy motel in the next town over. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, breakfast meeting, I think.
Yes, it
All right.
was. That's right.
Well, I think
All
we'll
right, guys.
close, but I love you. Good to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, this was pretty nice.